Uncool is recorded on Audio-Technica mics.
This is not some, hey, listen to me, I've got so many great ideas, I'm going to make you so much money, that kind of show. No, we are not that. It's also very uncool to talk about it.
Yes, it's a very private matter to many people. I myself am kind of open about it. Like, what are your rates? How much do you earn? How much do you spend? How much do you make? How much can I make? And how much don't you make? How much have you lost?
So, so this season we brought in a lot of freelancers, and we want to find out exactly what is their psychology of money, and of course, perhaps we can pick up some important lessons along the way from other freelancers, lessons on wealth, greed, and happiness, for example.
So today we have a multi-talented, multi-hyphenate Debra Teng, actress, corporate coach. As I have recently learned, she's also a real estate agent extraordinaire. The list goes on and on.
She's very, very multi-talented. Huh?
Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks for
Debra,
having me, guys.
So Debra, why don't you introduce yourself for everybody? Debra, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, so how do I introduce myself? So I wear many hats. Most people know me as Debra Teng, the actress. I also am a real estate agent. I am also a corporate trainer. I do life coaching. I am also a dancer. I dance quite a lot nowadays. And I'm also an active advocate for marine conservation. And what else? Have I missed out anything? I am also a real estate agent. Yeah. Oh yeah, and I also direct. And produce.
So you need not only your 10 fingers, but you also need to involve your toes when you're going to count how many things Debra does.
Yeah, even I lose count sometimes.
So Debra, let's take it away. What is your psychology of money? And what has it taught you about wealth, greed, and happiness?
Well, for me, my money is an enabler. It helps me attain the lifestyle that I want. So for me, it's never been about accumulation of money for the sake of having money, or even to show off or anything. It's really about how it can actually free me to live the life that I want. So that's really basically the way my attitude towards money.
Yeah, I think in the past, right, I had always been thinking about, I tie in my success with money. And I think that is what a lot of people do as well. I mean, it's a very measurable thing, right? How successful you are is basically how much you earn.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you say is very real, especially in a place like Singapore, where people do judge you based on the kind of car you drive, the kind of handbag you carry, what's the brand of your shoes that you wear. So I mean, people do judge you based on that. And actually, on some level, sometimes I do kind of like fall into the trap because I trained as an architect, right? And I actually worked as an architect, and if I were to compare myself with my architectural classmates, no, I'm nowhere near them. I mean, in the sense that because actually I started my real estate career a little bit late, I guess. I mean, I wish that I had actually started my real estate career a lot earlier. But of course, as an actress, it's always about the passion. It's about, I want to be an actor. I want to give myself the time to focus on my acting. I want to hone my craft. But I mean, as I got older, as I got wiser, I realized that actually it's so important to make sure that you are financially taken care of, because that will actually free you to not have to accept every single project that comes your way because you're desperate for the money, you're desperate to take on the work. And it also frees you to actually begin to create the life that you want. And I mean, like what you said, Yen Ling, right? If you want to measure your level of success based on the traditional yardstick as to how much money you have, then I would say perhaps I'm not the most successful person. But I think in terms of my level of freedom that I have, which is my own yardstick for myself, I'm pretty happy with my life the way it is. And a lot of my classmates are envious of the life that I lead. I mean, I am wealthy enough to afford everything that I really want in life. And I don't have the obligations, the high mortgages I have to pay for my car, for my landed houses and ABSDs, whatever. So in a sense, I think being free is much more valuable to me than having lots of measurable kind of like yardsticks for wealth.
Yeah.
I think that's quite interesting. Is like you are matching your passion with reality in that sense.
Yeah, that's very well put, Sean. Yeah, sort of like that. Yes, agreed.
So you have to find a practical way to let your passion continue.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Recently, we had a training session, right, where we had met people who solopreneurs, they are creatives in some ways. Some of them want to start their own business, and it was a good mix of people who actually not a good mix. That was a pretty young crowd, I think. That's why they had a lot of drive in them. There had a lot of motivation. And the question kept coming up, I don't want to, it's not about money. It's not about money. Right? I really want to drive my passion. But at the same time, having gone through the career path, I'm not super experienced, I would have to say, but at the same time, I do have a few years ahead of them. I don't know, I'm kind of torn when they say it's not about money.
I used to be exactly like them. I used to think exactly like them when I was younger and so passionate that it's not about the money. So I actually quit my architecture job and I was getting a good pay. I was on in a really good company. Like a lot of people were trying to get the job that I had. And I had great bosses. I love my work as an architect. And it was a very difficult position. I had to come to a point where I had to ask myself, do I want to pursue my passion and give up what I already have? I mean, I worked so hard, went through the whole architectural school and to get that degree and to land a really good job in a really good firm. And so it was a really difficult moment for me to actually say that, yeah, I'm going to give up this amazing job to go and start my own theatre company at the time and be an actor, producer, because that was my passion. That was what I believe. So I was just like them.
How did you feel, like, honestly?
Right after I felt like it was the right thing to do. I just felt like, I actually told myself I'd give myself 20 years and I always thought that I would come back to architecture because I did love it a lot. And it was, I just felt like it was something that I really enjoyed doing and I love doing. And it kind of suited my character as well.
Architecture, you mean?
The creative side of it, the ability to conceptualize spaces, which I actually translated into my theatre career, right? So I actually created projects which were nobody had actually done before back then. A combination of my architectural, the ability to conceptualize space, my dance background, my theatre background, my love for language and music. So I was able to conceptualize shows like that. Having said that, it was really tough because nobody had done that before at the time. So it was tiring trying to actually explain to people what I was trying to do and actually putting it together, and because people are not used to it, right? And I mean, and to be fair, I burnt out as well after that, and I just didn't have the energy, the stamina to keep pushing it through, and also the financial payback was really not there. But of course, the passion was there. I had this imagination. I wanted to make it come true. So the passion was definitely there.
Do you wish that if you had the chance right now, you could go back to architecture in some way or form?
I actually thought that, I would come back to architecture eventually, but then I never did because, one thing after another, it just took on a life of its own, and Yeah. But the passion was always there. It was always the driving force. I'm very close to my architecture classmates. Like, I still meet them on a pretty regular basis, and they are also doing such great work. And I'm so super proud of my classmates because they are really building Singapore. My classmates are, urban planners. They are award-winning architects. A lot of the projects in Singapore and even in the region that have won like really very highly acclaimed awards are by my classmates. So I'm incredibly proud of my classmates and what they've done.
Listening to you, Debra, it's occurred to me that money's greatest intrinsic value, at least to you, at least in terms of your psychology of money, is that it's really giving. It's really just it's not so much what you can buy and what you cannot buy. It's really control over your time.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got enough money to buy what I need, buy what I want, and I don't really want for a whole lot of stuff. So luckily, I'm not like, I'm not the sort that says I need a Bentley to make me happy. So, I'm quite happy taking Grab,
Like what Sean is saying, it can buy you a lot of things, but one thing it doesn't seem to be able to buy is time. Still.
Absolutely. And I'm sure they are very passionate about the work that they do as well. Otherwise, they would not. Nobody would become an architect in Singapore unless you are really passionate about it, I think, because
honestly,
it's really hard work.
I've heard from other architects. I don't think it's just Singapore. I think just in general.
Yeah,
you wouldn't
it's
become an
hard
architect. Yeah.
It is also a big sacrifice of the amount of time that you have to put into it. And the practice of architecture is not just in the things that we see, the beautiful design in our urban landscape, because a lot of the time that the architects spend on is actually firefighting. It's actually filling in forms. It's actually meeting with authorities to try and negotiate, a retaining wall, negotiate, a driveway or easement, whatever. So that actually takes up a lot of energy and time that people don't realize. But people see the beautiful, building at the end of the day, and they think that, oh, well, I could do this, but a lot of time and work goes into it, every single project.
Over the years, right, how do you think your perception of money has shaped your career then?
I think when I was younger, I felt like I didn't need money to make me happy. And as I got older, particularly after I got hit by a car, so I actually went to London. I was very, very lucky to actually get to study in one of the best drama schools in London, Mount View. So right after I came back from my my PG, my postgraduate studies in Mount View, I got hit by a car.
Do you even remember the accident?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, as in like what happened. Oh, the last thing I remembered was that looking at the car and thinking he's too fast for me to jump out of his way, and then boom,
Oh, damn.
I was gone. And then the next thing, when I open my eyes, I see people on the overhead bridge all looking at me, and all the people all surrounding me, and people trying to keep me awake and prevent me from, like, apparently if I like go to sleep, I may not wake up.
No, it's a good thing you didn't get thrown into oncoming traffic as well.
Yeah, but all my organs and my brain inside probably got a bit,
Shaken,
like put through the blender.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's still like quite amazing in and of itself. I mean, it was not fun.
Well, what happened to the driver?
Oh, the driver got charged. So when I opened my eyes, I could hear somebody say, "Long tio lang liao, long tio lang liao." That's all. I don't know what he looks like. All I remembered was that it was a red car that was coming my way.
It's always a red car.
It was always a red car.
It's always a red car.
It's got to be a red car, yeah.
Completely sidetracked. I got hit by a bus before. So,
No.
So, yeah, I did. So you
What?
only get young
You
as
guys
never
trying
been
to
hit
level
before.
up. I was not
Yeah, I know.
even anything.
I was walking the street. I was reading a script. I got banged. I flew. I stood up and I was like, walked to the guy. I was like, what the have you doing? So that's the more the story. You do not read when you cross the road. Yeah. But my point here is that you tend to remember these things when you get knocked by cars or buses and so on. I think the driver lost his job because I did write into the corporate comms later and be like, hey,
Oh my
guess what your bus driver did?
goodness,
No, I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad. Okay.
That
anyway.
guy probably has got like 5 children. That's depending on his
it was
salary.
green. The light was it was green. I was walking across the street. It was green. It wasn't red. And
Oh,
just
okay,
guy.
okay.
No, I mean Yeah, I want to know. I mean, not everyone gets hit by a car. Sorry, I'm not joking, but
So apparently I flew from, like, when the car hit me, I was a pedestrian. The car hit me, I flew and landed on my head. So I suffered internal head concussion. So I couldn't balance for 1.5 years. And when I came back
good
from the UK, I came back armed with like a whole stack of plays that I wanted to produce, and I was in the middle of actually producing one of the plays. I was like, okay, I'm going to produce this one, and I was already, like talking to people and working and doing readings and all that. And then when I got hit by a car, I couldn't balance. I was like, during rehearsals, I walked a few steps and I was like, okay, I'll fall over, or I need to hold on to something. So it was very inconvenient, and but managed to still get that show through. I started to clamp up and didn't want people to know that I got hit by a car, because I was so afraid that people were not going to call me for work, especially since I just came back with a postgraduate in acting from Mount View, and I was excited to like finally be able to put some of my studies, my learnings from London to good use, and then I got no work for a long time, and not being able to balance kind of like really affected my self-esteem in being able to go out for work as well. And that was really sobering, because I realized that as a freelancer, I had no insurance. I had and I didn't have a lot of savings, because I've always felt like
you spent your money in London.
Yeah, I had such a great time, and I was on scholarship, so I was quite lucky. I didn't have to spend a lot of money, but at the same time, I didn't think about saving money, which I probably should have, because I probably should have used the scholarship money to invest in something, because it was actually a decent amount of money. But instead, I just lived a really good life when I was in London, and I came back and I realized that I had very little savings, no insurance, and I got hit by a car, and I couldn't work. So that actually was I guess, in a way, a turning point for me in the way I think about money. I realized that, oh my God, I really need to be an adult and think about things like retirement, like things like, what's going to happen to me. Think about things like buying my own flat. The other thing was that I was kind of like always quite wishful thinking that, oh yeah, things will work out. But when I got hit by a car, it was scary. And then I thought, okay, what do I do now? So that's when I got smart and decided to get a full-time job. And part of it is also because I thought that it's important that I have a roof over my head. And I think that's something that's really important to prepare for, because if you're lucky enough to live with your parents, then that's great. You don't need to worry about having a roof over your head. But if you want to like gain some level of freedom, like I did back then, so I needed to think about and plan about how can I afford a roof over my head. And in Singapore, we're very lucky in the sense that we've got good quality housing, HDB, good quality public housing, right? And which is actually at that time very affordable. So one of the first things that I did was to get myself into a full-time job so that I can afford to get a loan to pay for my HDB. The thing about freelancers is that one of the challenging things about freelancer is that without a full-time job, banks won't loan you money. They need to see like, your income. So yeah, so I think that's what I did, which was, in a way it's delayed gratification, because a lot of people, if I was still like passionate all about, no, it's about acting, I'll be selling out if I go into a full-time job thing, then I wouldn't probably be able to afford to have this house, this great place that I have now. I'm fully paid up, so I have no more loans.
Yeah, I think what you just shared was, first of all, very sobering. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
It's always something that triggers you to want to like stop freelancing. I don't know. It's like, in your case, it's not getting hit by a car, which is of course not fun. And then for other people, it's always like, I want to go like, I don't know, buy a house. I want to go get
honestly,
married.
because I want to buy a house right now. I want to buy a house.
And then it makes you think, okay, I'm going to stop freelancing. I want to go become a full-timer instead and do, it's like, it's like, I don't know, a path of least resistance or something.
Yeah, it's true. And I think you can make it work, but you do need to plan and be a bit smart about it. You need to really and also I think you need to be prepared for some level of delayed gratification as well, which is something that people need to think about and ask themselves whether it's something that they're able to cope with.
We've been delaying buying our Tesla for the last 10 years.
For me, it's my GCB, maybe I'll just wait another year or two before I buy my GCB.
No, but so if you hadn't, going back to the psychology, if you hadn't, would you say that car accident incident really changed your psychology towards like money and shaped you to make the decisions to where you are right now?
I think the car accident was definitely a huge contributing factor. Like right up to the point when I came back from Mount View, I was in a relationship. It felt almost like a marriage because we were together for so long and I thought we'd just be together for the rest of our lives. And I think for people, the other way to get that financial stability, I guess, is to marry, find someone and marry so that you have that stability.
As long as they're also financially stable.
Exactly, as long as they're not also another freelancer. Sorry,
two
Sean.
Two freelancers together, not a good idea. Yeah. I think that's also one of the things that money does to you, and the psychology of money. How you use your money kind of shapes the way you think 98% of the world works. But the reality is that it probably is like 0.00006% of the way that the world works. But to you, it's thinking like, oh, this is how I use it. No, 98% of the world works like this. And
that is very chim, Sean. Actually, I didn't think of that. That's really quite chim. I think when I was in that relationship, I knew I was lucky. And people could see that I was also a lot more relaxed. I'll show up to an audition, whatever, and I'm always relaxed because having that psychologically knowing that someone's got my back, that I've got this rock, it really frees me up from actually, and I feel like without that forever person in my life, I always have that little bit of anxiety, and I think people feel it as well. And I think it comes across in even like at auditions or whatever, like I'm not as relaxed and happy in a way, not having that forever person. Not that I'm unhappy, I'm actually really happy with my life. It's just that I know that I have to hustle, that, everything that I do is, I'm hustling.
Yeah. But then at a certain, I think why I ask, because I think it's very relatable, right? I myself am in a relationship. Sometimes it's not, he also doesn't financially give me anything, but it's also it's a mental thing, it's an emotional thing, but it's
Absolutely.
also knowing that if anything, and I'm lucky as well, if anything happens, I can I do have a very close family that I can always depend on, right? And me being the black sheep of the family, always going rogue, and freelancing, they are a lot more financially stable than I. I am stable right now, but they're always like, if anything, please come back to me. So knowing that
it's
happens,
so good to know that, like, that's your family, it's got your back, that if anything happens to you, there's somewhere that you can go to.
Yeah, and I think that shapes the way that we do things, like what you mentioned, Debra, right? Yeah, it shapes your decisions and how you go about life. But okay, so back to you then. When after you did that, you went back to get a full-time job. And what job was this?
So I became a management consultant. The other thing about me is that I think for everybody out there is that don't be afraid to do something that you may think that you have no experience in. But I mean, the thing is that I just kind of like looked at the job description and I was like, I could do this. I may not have a business admin background, but I could do this. When there is a burning fire under you, you kind of like, you would be a lot more garang. And I would tell everybody, all your listeners, right? Don't be afraid to go into something that you think you have absolutely no experience in. I mean, ask questions, ask what does this job entail, and be honest with yourself as well. Like, are you able to do it? Are you willing to do it? Are you willing to do what it takes to do it and really succeed and do it really well?
So you just walked in there with an acting degree and went straight for senior management
architecture
consultant.
Yeah, so so the architecture degree kind of gives you 2 degrees. You get a Bachelor of Arts and then you get the Bachelor of Architecture, which is equivalent to a Master in Architecture.
Right.
Yeah, so your first degree is a Bachelor of Arts. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Right. So
Yeah,
right,
and
right. So
and then if you can make it back for the second part of it, usually by the time you get a Bachelor of Arts, right, 50% of the people would have dropped out already. So like my class started with 120. By the time we graduated, it was only 40 something left that graduated the Bachelor of Architecture because the dropout rate is very high.
It wasn't hey, why is this actress coming to be a consultant? I guess it all added up to
Yeah, and as an architect, you are a consultant as well, and architecture is actually, it does prepare you for a lot of things because it's a very complicated profession. You do have to actually deal with a lot of different aspects from from managing people to actually managing a project, timekeeping, financial, making sure that you don't overspend. It's very, very complicated, and also making sure that each part of the work, the mechanical, the electrical and all that, they all come in at the correct time so that you're not like hacking something because, oh, sorry, I forgot that this one needs to come in first, then this one, okay, sorry, okay, yeah, hack, because that will cost money kind of thing. So architecture is actually really complicated in that sense. I mean, the part that actually, in the consulting company, the part that I actually did a lot of was, at the beginning anyway, I did a lot of service training. So at first, it was for the Changi Airport. So I was putting through a lot of people to the Changi Airport. So, I mean, in a sense that because the organization actually has a really good track record in terms of service, consulting for service industry. So I just had to plug in and learn the material and do a lot of the training. I mean, eventually, of course, the work evolved, and then I started to actually go into consulting and doing like customer service mapping and touch point mapping and things like that, which so the work evolved, and that was just for the customer service part of it. And of course there were other aspects, other areas in that I went into as well.
So catch Debra again on our next episode as we talk about how you can make your money work for you, especially for self-employed freelancers.
If you want to hear from our other guests coming up on new episodes, you want to catch up on our old episodes, of course, just drop us a like. Remember to click follow on the podcast, rate us 5 stars. Do tell your friends about us, and do it with no worries because it is just cool to be uncool.
Uncool is recorded on Audio Technica mics.